We've just passed the 4th of July, which of course in the United States is Independence Day. So it worked out pretty nicely that our next entry of the Super Bowl era's most disappointing teams will bring us to America's team, or so they call themselves. But we'll get to them in just a moment. Our last entry at number 30 belonged to the 1993 Philadelphia Eagles, and they made it onto the list because of their C-score. C-score is a metric created by this channel for the purposes of evaluating each and every NFL team of the Super Bowl era beyond just looking at its record. For a more thorough explanation, be sure to check out the description of this video. A quick rundown on how a team qualifies for this list. A season with a positive C-score is followed up by a season with an even higher C-score that surpasses 15, all to be followed by another season with a negative C-score. That third season becomes the disappointing one. The bigger the drop from season 2 to season 3, the bigger the disappointment. They wear their star proudly, but it doesn't always shine so brightly every season. Our number 29 entry is the 2010 Dallas Cowboys. Thank you for joining us today. Let's get this thing started. The 2008 Cowboys barely scraped out enough of a positive C-score to qualify the 2010 team. Even with a small negative 3-point differential, they managed a winning record of 9-7 against the top 10 schedule. They could not make the playoffs though, settling for a C-score of 1.408. In fact, if this C-score did slip into negative territory, then it would have been this team making the list based on Dallas's results from the 2006 and 2007 seasons. The Cowboys won the NFC East in 2007 and earned the NFC's top overall seed, only to fall on their faces at home in the playoffs. They became the first NFC number 1 seed to go one and done in the playoffs in 20 years, and the first to ever do so since the expansion of the playoffs to 6 teams per conference. That also made it 12 straight seasons, at the time, since Dallas had made it as far as the NFC Championship game. So it stands to reason that the lasting hangover from all of this contributed to their inability to close the deal in 2008. At various points in the season, they were 3-0, 4-1, and 8-5, picking up several wins against less than stellar competition. With the Giants running away with the division, the Cowboys were still in position to grab themselves a wildcard spot. That is, until a 1-3 record down the stretch ended that dream, punctuated by a 44-6 drubbing by the Eagles to end the season in what was a win-and-in scenario for both teams. After all the dust had settled though, the Cowboys performed fairly well against the top 10 schedule, so all was not lost. They had 6 Pro Bowlers, because of course they did, they're the Cowboys, but the talent was certainly there to accomplish more than they had done this season. That talent did coalesce in 2009. Lots of ones on the board here. The Cowboys won 11 games and outscored their opponents by 111 points. They just missed one more by finishing the season with the second fewest points allowed. Against another top 10 schedule, this time tied for 10th, Dallas got a big boost in their C-score from the season before, coming up with a 17.364. Dallas was in stiff competition with the Philadelphia Eagles for the NFC East, especially after Philly won 6 straight games to go from 5-4 to 11-4. For the second straight season, these two teams faced off in the year's final game with something on the line. An Eagles victory would give them the division title with 2 games to spare. But a Cowboys victory would create a tie, and based on their earlier victory in Philadelphia, it would be Dallas that claimed the crown. They may not have won 6 straight games, but the Cowboys did enter this one with plenty of momentum themselves. They gave the New Orleans Saints their first loss of the season in Week 15, in New Orleans no less. They were on the road again the following week against the Redskins. Not only did they win the game, they pitched a shutout. Back at home now, they figured, Why not? Let's get ourselves another shutout. And they did just that, knocking off the Eagles 24-0, which then set up a rematch between the two the very next week in the wild card round of the playoffs. They did allow some points this time, but were just as dominant, scoring 27 points in the second quarter alone to once again secure a 24-point win. A stiff test would follow the next week, a road matchup with the revitalized Minnesota Vikings. If they could win, they would finally make that elusive NFC Championship game, where they would face off with the same Saints team they had just defeated a month earlier. If they could win that game. Dallas tried to keep it close, entering the fourth quarter down 14 points, but they couldn't get their offense into gear, losing 34-3. They were eaten alive by Sidney Rice and his 3 touchdown receptions. Not exactly the first time the Cowboys had been eaten alive by a wide receiver named Rice. Dallas had themselves a fine season, but fine wasn't good enough to go any further, and their NFC Championship game drought had now reached 14 seasons. There wasn't much from the 2009 season to suggest that the Cowboys were a house of cards, and it may be that they weren't, but the collapse came, and it came hard in 2010. They slumped from 11-5 to 6-10, from a plus 111 point differential to minus 42, from second in fewest points allowed to second in most points allowed. And to cap off the overall disappointment, their C-score fell hardest of all, from 17.364 all the way down to negative 6.402. The first 44 Super Bowls had been held across a variety of cities, and had even been held in the state of Texas twice. But never before had the game's biggest stage resided in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In May 2007, that changed when Cowboys Stadium was named the host of Super Bowl 45, to be played 3.5 years later. The stadium itself had already broken ground, but it wasn't until 2009 that it officially opened and served as Dallas's home field. It would have seemed completely plausible that the Cowboys could be the first team to ever play the Super Bowl in their home stadium. Oh, what dreams may come. Starting the season 0-2 wasn't ideal, but it's a hole the Cowboys have dug themselves out of in the past before going on to win it all. A win in Week 3 led to their early season bye, and plenty of opportunity to right the ship. What followed instead was 5 consecutive losses, the first 3 by a single possession each, the last 2 by a total of 56 points. That was the last straw, and head coach Wade Phillips was given the pink slip by owner/general manager/president/master of the universe Jerry Jones. Incidentally, the team that kicked off this countdown, the 2000 Buffalo Bills, was also coached by Phillips. That seemed to do the trick though, as the Cowboys ended the season 5-3 under interim and soon-to-be full-time coach Jason Garrett. And those 3 losses were only by a combined 7 points. So massive credit is due for a near miraculous turnaround. But in the end, all they did was provide decorations for a landfill. Part of the reason for this season can be seen right here. Now, in general, I am an advocate of collecting as many draft picks as possible, providing a greater opportunity to find some real talent. Dallas traded their 2009 first-round pick, among other picks, to acquire wide receiver Roy Williams, and they maneuvered themselves into 12 overall picks. However, in order for this strategy to work, you gotta hit on those picks, or at least some of them. And this here was the Cowboys' 2009 draft class. According to Pro Football Reference's weighted career approximate value, the best player in this draft was 4th round linebacker Victor Butler with a total of 6. The entire class, 12 players in total, had a combined career score of 17. For a little reference, the Patriots draft class from the same season, also without a first-round pick, had 4 different players with a career score higher than 17, 3 of which more than doubled that total, and 2 of which more than tripled that total. Super Bowl 45 was played in Cowboys Stadium, but the Cowboys football team was nowhere near it. Instead, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers, 2 franchises that had won a total of 4 NFL championships at the direct expense of America's team. That had to sting for old Jera, providing a lasting feeling of both soreness and disappointment. We left off our last video wondering whether we'd get another point-plus increase for the next entry. It turns out we did, and to this point early on, it's the largest increase of all. Dallas saw their C-score plummet by nearly 24 points, and there are still 28 more teams who did even worse. Be sure to join us when we release our video for number 28, not only to find out who it is, but by how much further they have fallen. Thank you so much for taking some time with us today. By sticking it out to the end, I can only assume you like this video. So let's make it official by clicking the thumbs up button. Also, share, subscribe, and ding that bell so you can be notified every time the channel releases something new. The Cowboys' failure in 2010 made it 15 years since they had last been to and won a Super Bowl. It is now 2025. Another 15 years have passed, and their trophy case is no more full than it was 30 years prior. So be sure to check back with us 15 years from now in the year 2040 to see if this story has changed at all. I would love to hear your thoughts about this particular Cowboys squad or the Cowboys franchise as a whole down in the comments section below. Keep on making those predictions about what teams might show up on this list by the time we're all done with it. I will neither confirm nor deny any individual guesses, but I will say that many have been spot on. Thank you for all the wonderful support, and thank you once again for joining us today. And until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.